Over half of my media classes have been spent working on this coursework. I have become familiar with much new software, both in the researching task and in the production. First of all the work has been done on Macs, which I've never used before. I've always been using different kind of laptops and computers, so it took some time getting used to the way Macs work and the operating system. Also, this is the first year that I'm doing media. I didn't do it for my GCSE, so I faced many difficulties, especially with the whole taking pictures and editing them, because I wasn't really sure what people liked and what was the standard. So I had many plans for my shots, where I got lots of help from my teacher, obviously, as I didn't know what to do, and he told me what techniques to use and such. Um, but after planning a time to go take the images with my models, like to go take all the shots, I struggled a bit because I was unfamiliar with the camera itself and the features it had. I was luckily quickly I learned some of the basics. Through this process, I've been able to expand my knowledge about pic taking. This mainly was the ISO and the shutter speed to make the lighting optimal. My cover shot was taken in school with the school material, like school camera and such, and the background and backdrop. Therefore, this was rather easy, but all of my other shots I had to use friends from outside of school and also locations. It took a lot of planning, but luckily we managed to pull through and timed it very well in terms of the sunset and such. Um, for the images used, my models brought their own sets of costumes and props, and I also brought some varieties myself. So we were in a public space, so there was a lot of people around us, which both which made me and my inexperienced models rather uncomfortable. In some of the research tasks, it involved us presenting the information using different softwares and websites like Prezi. I have used this before, so this wasn't an issue for me at all. Um, and after all the planning was done, we began working on the actual production. I was much more comfortable working on computers instead of the actual field work, so as I quickly started to learn my way around the Mac. Software we used for the production was Photoshop and InDesign, which were softwares I had never used before either. This meant it took again a while for me to actually begin putting together the pages as I had to get familiar with the tools and options available to me. After we spent a couple of lessons on this, I got to work. I quickly finished the formats on the pages and then had them filled out with the text and the images. This went smoothly due to careful planning and preparation. Sometimes I wasn't able to do exactly what I wanted to do, but through the help of teachers and peers, I quickly found another option. I worked from my plans, my creativity, and I followed some professional examples as I wanted it to look as realistic as possible. As I wasn't very familiar with the editing of images, I chose not to change my pictures a lot. I had to do some work cropping them so they fitted it into the allocated spaces and brightening them, especially for my double spread. For the cover images, I was able to remove the background rather easily due to the tools you have available to you in Photoshop. This whole project has been a huge learning experience for me, especially using Photoshop and InDesign. Here I really developed many new skills which I can now apply in other scenarios at home, school, or elsewhere. When looking at my first original plans, I had a lot of change from them they changed a lot compared to my final versions. This is because when I started making these plans, I was not aware of the options I actually had. But being a very improvising man, I easily managed to use these plans to come up with a better and more professional looking ideas. Along the line, I've always had an idea of what I was hoping it would end up looking like, and I'm rather pleased with the way it has come out and the skills I've learned along the way. As for technology concerned, it has really improved my camera skills. As I said earlier, the ISO and the shutter speed is something I've become a lot better at using, and I've learned to manipulate images manually on the camera, and I've learned how to make sure your surroundings and equipment helps you to take a better image.